He's a deviant, and he plays with dark magic. These are facts. And you always see these people who have these meteoric rises. Nobody's giving them, nobody's backing them. They just like they did it from the ground up. And the trade-off with that is you have to perpetuate darkness.
He's a deviant and he plays with dark magic. These are facts. That claim has been floating around online for years whenever certain celebrities rise too fast. Critics often say when someone suddenly jumps from nothing to global power, there's always a price behind the scenes. The idea is simple. Meteoric success rarely comes without a trade-off. Now, those whispers are back again because the situation around Sean Diddy Combs just took another unexpected turn. Most people thought the entire scandal reached its final chapter the moment Combs was locked inside a federal facility. The trial ended, the verdict landed, and the prison doors closed. Case finished, right? Not exactly. In the past few hours, observers noticed something strange in the Federal Bureau of Prisons database. Combs' projected release date quietly moved forward to April 25, 2028, more than a month earlier than previously listed. At first glance, that might sound like routine paperwork. But in high-profile cases like this, even a small shift sends people scrambling for answers. Combs is currently serving a 50-month federal sentence following a 7-week trial connected to transportation charges involving paid encounters tied to the so-called freak-offs. Federal prosecutors originally pushed for over 11 years behind bars. Instead, the final sentence came in far lower, something that already surprised many people watching the case. Now the timeline itself keeps changing. Inside the system, these adjustments usually happen because of credit calculations, rehabilitation programs, or administrative updates. But the pattern surrounding Combs' release date has raised eyebrows among those following the case closely. When he first entered FCI Fort Dix in New Jersey, the projected release date sat at May 8, 2028. Then it shifted again to June 4th, and now it has jumped back to April 25th. Each update sends analysts recalculating how much time he may actually spend behind bars. The explanation coming from his legal team is straightforward. They argue the original verdict already cleared Combs of the most serious accusations. One attorney explained it this way. I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no trafficking. There was no racketeering. Everything was consensual. Everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of the offense.
Anyway, I'm happy to go. So we think that's just absolutely inconsistent with the jury's verdict. I mean, the jury's verdict was resoundingly clear. There was no trafficking, there was no racketeering, everything was consensual, everything was adult, which is why he was convicted only of the offense. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror, yes, one that we did not choose, and that he second-guessed the jury's.
The lawyer also claimed the judge went beyond the jury's decision when handling sentencing. What we feel happened today was that the judge acted as a 13th juror, one that we did not choose, and that he second-guessed the jury. That argument is now part of the ongoing appeal strategy. But the numbers around the sentence continue to confuse people who watch the trial unfold. Prosecutors asked the court to impose more than 11 years in prison, arguing the allegations tied to Combs' private events showed a pattern serious enough to require a heavy penalty. Instead, the judge handed down 50 months, just over 4 years, and that number carries built-in flexibility. When credit for time already served and standard federal reductions are applied, the real prison stretch can shrink dramatically. Along with the prison sentence, Combs was ordered to pay a $500,000 fine and complete 5 years of supervised release after leaving custody. Still, the prison portion remains the headline everyone is watching. During sentencing, Combs addressed the court directly. He apologized to former partners and associates, describing parts of his past behavior as disgusting, shameful, and sick. Those words quickly spread across headlines around the world. At that moment, the story seemed simple. A powerful figure falling from the top, apologizing publicly, and accepting punishment. But once the sentence came in far lower than prosecutors requested, and then the projected release date began shrinking, people started questioning whether the consequences truly matched the scandal. Even commentators began breaking down the math publicly. One analyst joked during a discussion, 2 months, 4 years, 2 months in prison? Wow. He served a year, he gets credit, then another reduction. Oh my god, he's out in 2 years. Moments like that have fueled endless debate online. Meanwhile, inside Fort Dix, the official narrative focuses on rehabilitation. Combs reportedly works in the prison chapel library, organizing books and assisting with administrative duties. His legal team specifically requested this facility because it allows family visits and offers access to several rehabilitation programs. One program in particular has drawn attention, RDAP, the Residential Substance Abuse Program. In federal prisons, completing RDAP can reduce a sentence by up to 1 full year. Lawyers across the country understand how powerful that program can be when it comes to shortening prison time. According to statements released through representatives, Combs spends his days reading, writing, exercising, and attending counseling sessions focused on sobriety and personal accountability.
Constitutional. We think that a jury verdict should mean more than our jury's verdict seems to mean, and so we are planning to appeal.
Reporters are pushing a clear message. Prison is forcing reflection. The story being presented publicly is that the environment is pushing him toward personal change and rebuilding his life. But not everyone believes that version. Some observers say the early release shifts and reduced timeline make the punishment feel far less severe than expected. Others argue the system is simply working the way federal sentencing rules are designed. Either way, the clock continues ticking, and every time that release date moves, the debate starts all over again. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, he's got 4 years and change that he's going to ultimately have to serve, although he has already served a year while awaiting trial. That's the official math behind Sean Combs' sentence. On paper, it sounds straightforward, but the story starts bending the moment voices from inside FCI Fort Dix begin sharing what's actually happening behind those walls. One report claims Combs was caught with a fermented drink mixture made from Fanta, sugar, and apples. The kind of homemade brew inmates sometimes experiment with using kitchen supplies. Inside federal prisons, those improvised drinks circulate quietly and can lead to discipline if discovered.
2 months?
4 years, 2 months in prison.
Wow.
He served a year. He gets some time. He gets 15% credit, so he'd be at 14-ish.
2.5 years.
2 months. So, and then he gets another 15% in the remaining.
Yeah.
He's out in 2 years.
Yeah. Should have stuck with the original guess.
I know. Yeah.
According to sources familiar with the situation, prison staff briefly considered moving Combs to another unit as punishment. But the decision was reportedly reversed before anything major happened. The rumor grabbed attention for one simple reason. Only weeks earlier, Combs told the court he had been sober for the first time in 25 years. In a letter to the judge, he wrote a line that spread across headlines. The old me faded in jail, and a new version of me was reborn. It sounded like a powerful moment of transformation. Then the story about the fermented drink appeared, and suddenly that redemption narrative looked a little less clear. Inside prison systems, contradictions travel faster than official statements.
Diddy, obviously just starting out his time, well, not just starting out, but starting out his official sentence since being sentenced not too long ago. And I think suffice to say, it's not going well so far.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, he's got 4 years and change that he's going to ultimately have to serve, although he has served already a year as he awaited his trial and then went through his trial.
Guards hear things, inmates repeat them, and eventually the outside world starts asking questions. Was the personal transformation real, or was it part of a carefully built public image? Around the same time, another voice emerged from someone who had just walked out of the same facility. Former NBA player Sebastian Telfair, who recently finished his own federal sentence, spoke openly about what he observed inside Fort Dix. According to Telfair, Combs appeared comfortable navigating prison life. He said the music mogul was holding it down and staying in good spirits while adjusting to the environment. That description quickly spread through entertainment outlets. Supporters heard resilience in those words, proof that Combs was staying strong. Critics heard something else entirely. To them, it sounded like the same powerful personality that once dominated music, and nightlife still carried influence, even inside a federal institution. Telfair also talked about the dramatic shift from celebrity life to prison routine. Someone who once lived around luxury, late-night parties, and massive influence now moves through a slower world of strict schedules, controlled spaces, and constant supervision.
The thing is, all of those things that you just said are also included in the racketeering count. So we don't know what the vote is. It's hard to read what they...
According to Telfair, the adjustment forces people to reflect on themselves. But the tone of the interview never suggested someone completely broken by consequences. Instead, it sounded like someone adapting quickly and learning how the system works. And that detail matters, because federal prisons run heavily on incentives. Good behavior earns sentence credits. Program participation can shorten time. Rehabilitation efforts open doors to earlier release dates. In certain cases, cooperation with investigators can create opportunities that never appear publicly on official paperwork. None of those possibilities are listed next to the updated release date in the Bureau of Prisons database. The system simply shows the date changing. Still, people familiar with high-profile federal cases keep asking the same quiet question. What else might be happening around this sentence that the public hasn't seen yet? During the trial, prosecutors described a network of events tied to the so-called freak-offs. They argued these gatherings involved complicated arrangements between partners and performers that crossed the line from private behavior into criminal territory. Witness testimony introduced claims of coercion, control, and violent outbursts. Those allegations formed the core of the prosecution's argument for a decade-long prison sentence.
charge. And a lot of people saying it's square peg, round hole, that we know that there are multiple jurors on both sides. It's not just one holdout, that on racketeering, they are stuck. But they have reached a decision on trafficking as it results with
But when the final punishment dropped to 50 months and the prison timeline kept shrinking even further, the gap between expectation and reality started raising eyebrows. One commentator reviewing the verdict admitted the jury's decision still leaves questions. The thing is, all of those things you just said are also included in the racketeering count, so we don't know what the vote is. It's hard to read what they were thinking. Outside the prison walls, the ripple effects continue spreading. Civil lawsuits tied to the scandal keep surfacing. One complaint involves Combs' son, Christian Combs, and a yacht worker named Grace Omar Kay, who claims an encounter aboard a chartered vessel turned into an attempted forced act. The lawsuit names both Christian and Sean Combs, arguing the environment on the yacht allowed the alleged situation to unfold. At the same time, financial disputes have appeared as well. Court records show a conflict between the Combs family and a law firm called Summa LLP over unpaid invoices totaling more than $53,000 for legal work. The matter was eventually settled quietly, but it adds another layer to the ongoing legal pressure surrounding the Combs empire. Even with Sean Combs behind bars, the network of lawsuits and legal battles keeps moving forward, and the cultural reaction hasn't slowed down either. Rapper Curtis, 50 Cent Jackson, continues mocking the Combs family online during and after the trial. At one point, Christian Combs fired back in the comments section, calling 50 a senior citizen, a jab that fans quickly noticed.
You had day 17 on the Diddy trial as the biggest one yet. Guess what? Bingo, you won, because today was probably the most eventful day as far as things that happened that were said on the stand, and most importantly, things that the judge said, because Diddy almost got kicked out of his own trial.
The comment also referenced a messy history involving 50 Cent's former partner Daphne Joy and Sean Combs, adding another personal layer to the feud. So while the prison calendar continues quietly shifting inside federal records, the drama surrounding the Combs name is still unfolding everywhere else. The insult quickly turned into another headline. On the surface, it looked like a typical hip-hop feud. A few social media shots, a few viral comments, nothing unusual for the culture. But the timing makes it different this time. The Combs name is already tied to a federal conviction, a growing pile of civil lawsuits, and documentaries revisiting old accusations. Every online jab keeps the scandal circulating through the entertainment world. Now there's a strange split-screen moment happening. On one side, Sean Combs sits inside FCI Fort Dix, dealing with prison routines and legal consequences. On the other side, his son Christian Combs is online defending the family name while critics keep the controversy alive. Two very different worlds, both connected to the same story. During the trial itself, the tension was already intense. Commentators following the courtroom drama described certain days as explosive. One observer said, "You had day 17 in the Diddy trial as the biggest one yet." Today was probably the most eventful day because of what happened on the stand and what the judge said. Diddy almost got kicked out of his own trial. Moments like that kept the spotlight on the case even before the verdict arrived. But the story didn't end when the courtroom closed. Another thread from the past suddenly resurfaced when former Danity Kane member Aubrey O'Day appeared in a documentary revisiting her experiences in the music industry. In the film, she reads an affidavit describing an alleged studio incident from 2005 involving intoxication, nudity, and disturbing behavior involving multiple men. O'Day says she doesn't clearly remember the event itself, but seeing the document forced her to start questioning parts of her own past. She also describes receiving explicit messages from Combs during her time in the group and believes rejecting those advances may have contributed to her removal from Danity Kane in 2008. The documentary arrives after the federal trial has already finished, but emotionally, the fallout is still spreading. O'Day says watching the reconstructed footage of the allegations left her hyperventilating and crying, forcing her to confront questions about whether justice ever truly arrives for experiences like that. Her voice adds another layer to the atmosphere surrounding Combs' prison sentence, and it connects to claims that surfaced during testimony in the federal case. At one point, prosecutors described situations where partners allegedly faced pressure tied to recordings from private encounters. That environment became a major part of the prosecution's argument. Federal sentencing rarely happens in isolation. Judges often consider influence, reputation, and patterns of behavior when deciding punishment. In Combs' case, prosecutors argued his wealth and celebrity allowed him to control environments where harmful behavior could occur without immediate consequences. They described a pattern of intimidation and manipulation involving partners and employees. When announcing the sentence, the judge acknowledged those concerns, saying the punishment needed to send a message about exploitation and violence against women. But the final sentence, 50 months, still landed far below the decade-long punishment prosecutors requested. Now that the projected release date keeps shifting earlier inside federal records, that contradiction is becoming harder for observers to ignore. Was the 50-month sentence already a compromise? Or did new negotiations begin after the courtroom lights turned off and the prison gates closed? One legal analyst even pointed out the complexity behind federal sentencing decisions. Judge Subramanian took a massive pay cut to take that job. The commentator explained, "He was an accomplished litigator with a pedigree most law students would envy. He's a very brilliant man." Still, the story keeps bending in ways that numbers alone can't explain. The Bureau of Prisons database updates quietly, without press conferences or detailed explanations. Rehabilitation programs continue behind the scenes. Civil lawsuits keep appearing in different courts. Documentaries reopen old wounds. Meanwhile, rival artists continue mocking the situation online. Through all of it, the calendar tied to Combs' sentence keeps shifting. Inside federal systems, adjustments like that usually involve paperwork, legal calculations, and administrative credits. But the public rarely sees those documents until long after the fact. That gap leaves room for speculation. If someone facing more than a decade in prison ends up serving something closer to 3 years, and that timeline keeps shrinking, people naturally start asking questions. Who benefits from those changes? And what information might be moving quietly through the system to make them possible? What makes the situation even heavier is everything surrounding the case long before the conviction ever happened. For years, stories about Sean Combs circulated within the industry. Accusations, sworn statements, rumors that sounded too extreme to travel beyond private conversations. Then the trial broke that barrier. Testimony introduced allegations about control, intimidation, and carefully orchestrated gatherings that blurred the lines between celebrity lifestyle and criminal behavior. After the verdict, the legal consequences seemed contained inside one federal sentence, but the broader storm never actually stopped. Civil lawsuits continue appearing in multiple jurisdictions, many tied to events stretching back years. One of the loudest voices right now is still Aubrey O'Day. When she learned about the alleged studio incident described in legal documents, she said the realization hit her physically before she could process it mentally. According to her, the moment raised a brutal question. How many people knew pieces of this world existed, but never understood the full picture? That lingering uncertainty adds weight to every update connected to Combs' prison timeline, because the conversation always circles back to power. For decades, Sean Combs built Bad Boy Records into a cultural powerhouse that shaped hip-hop, fashion, and celebrity culture. That success also created a massive network around him. Artists, executives, security staff, business partners, and party guests who all passed through that orbit at different times. When investigators began examining the allegations, they weren't just looking at one person's behavior. They were examining an entire environment. Even now, insiders across the entertainment world quietly suggest the story could involve more people than the ones currently appearing in court documents. And that possibility fuels constant speculation. Some observers believe the shrinking timeline could suggest cooperation happening behind the scenes. Others say it simply reflects how federal sentencing programs and credits work in practice. The truth is, the system rarely explains itself publicly while cases are still unfolding. So the situation sits in a strange place. A once dominant music mogul now spends his days behind federal walls, while lawsuits, interviews, and resurfacing allegations keep expanding the story outside them. Supporters continue talking about rehabilitation and personal change. Critics keep pointing to testimony, affidavits, and the growing list of civil complaints. And all the while, the prison calendar keeps moving in ways people struggle to interpret. So the big question remains, what exactly is happening behind those prison walls right now? Are investigators still gathering information from someone who spent decades at the center of a powerful entertainment network? Or is the shifting release date simply another twist in a federal system most people barely understand? And if more names or details eventually surface, how many people connected to that empire might suddenly find themselves pulled into the same spotlight? Drop your theories below, because this story still feels far from over.